Welcome, everybody, to our 2 o'clock session at the CELT conference this afternoon. It gives me extreme pleasure to introduce 2 guest speakers to you this afternoon who will be speaking on the topic of Early Start Mathematics, which is an online course developed for the CSU, and you'll hear all about that, by Professor Ted Cluver, who has an MS in Math Education. Since 1998, he's been adjunct faculty here at Chico State. And since 2005, the director of the Developmental Math Department. A personal aside, you have to ask him about this later, is that he participated in the Tough Mudder. Yeah, he did. Oh, and I don't want to forget Ann Steckel. Ann Steckel is an instructional technology consultant at the Technology and Learning Program here at Chico State, and the 2 of them have worked very hard to prepare this course, and I'll let you tell you all about it.
All right. Well, welcome. I was expecting crowds, so. So as Laura just said, I'm the director of developmental math, and I took over the position in 2005. I initially started with Chico State back in '98. And then the reason why that is because it was in '98 that the first structured approach to the remediation took place. All right. So prior to 1998, what was the case was that students could enroll at Chico State, and at any point in their education, they could deal with their math. So what they were finding is that students would work through their degree program and then save the hurdle for last, and then they were, of course, not completing their degree. So they were finding that there was a large amount of people who were leaving the system after spending a good amount of time here. So in '97, the Chancellor's Office passed EO 665, Executive Order 665, which said that starting a student who enrolls in Chico State, they have to complete their remedial requirements by the end of the spring semester of their freshman year. All right. So with that came, of course, a bunch of courses, because it turns out there was a backlog of students who hadn't dealt with their math yet, even though they're already designated remedial. So that's how I ended up getting hired in '98. All right. So the courses were put into place in '98, and they had approximately 1,500 students who were designated as needing remedial math, ranging all the way from freshman through senior year. And so anyway, that was the peak, by the way. All right. It has since been whittled down numbers-wise. All right. What we did here was the courses were tailored in such a way that the Elm score, the entry-level mathematics exam, the range on the ELM is from 0 to 80. A passing score on the Elm is 50 or higher, 50 to 80. Right. So our remedial program covers 2 to 48. So we actually have a 3-tier program here at Chico State. We have a 42 to 48 group, which covers our intermediate algebra, and then 40 and below, we have 2 substratas. We have 0 to 32 score is a Math 11 or Math 12. It's a beginning algebra, but it's an intensive, what we call an intensive algebra course, where they meet at one time. It's 5 days a week. They meet 4 days a week, and they work more on a collaborative effort. They're not doing a traditional lecture-based course. And then there's a Math 31, which is beginning algebra. It's more traditional based, and that leads them to the Math 51, which is intermediate algebra. But along with offering the courses to help flow the students through the program, an Elm Workshop was developed. And what the Elm Workshop, the purpose of the Elm Workshop was simply this. The Elm is typically offered, and it still is today, on dates that the night before tends to be the prom, graduation, Friday night in general. And so So what happens is you find that a lot of students who end up in the remedial level courses, they are there not because they don't necessarily have the skills, but they didn't really understand the significance of the entry-level math exam. Many students are like that. Of course, probably a greater number don't fall under that. So anyway, so the Elm Workshop was developed, and the whole idea was this, is that students could, the weekend before school starts, they could take the Elm again after they do a workshop. All right. So the second slide, which is right here, is about the Elm Workshop. And so what the Elm Workshop is this. It's a 3-day workshop that meets Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday the week before school starts. And each meeting is a 3-hour meeting, and they meet from 9 to 12, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The Elm is given a Saturday following the workshop, the Saturday workshop. And then the curriculum is the Elm problem book. It's a booklet that is used to review and prepare for beginning algebra, geometry, and intermediate algebra. Right. And then the only people who are invited to the Elm Workshop are the 42 to 48 group within the Elm scores. All right, so it's the highest tier. Now, currently that is the case. Prior to 4 years ago, we used to only invite the 46 to 48, the highest of the high. And so I believe it was 3 years ago, we started to invite the 42 and up to this workshop. Partly because what we wanted to do is, as you all know, the budget cuts were coming along, and we're trying to find ways to try to push people through the system a little quicker. Right? So here's what happens. The attendance is varied year to year from about 85 to 184 students, just depending on the group that we get. And the success rate varies anywhere from, 49 to 63.5%. So it actually, we have good success with this. Now, it used to be when we had the 46 to 48, when we only invited 46 to 48, our averages were consistently in the low 60s, low to mid 60s as success. But once we started inviting the 42 to 48, it dropped a little bit. And this year, as part of the Early Start program, is everyone aware of what that is? What it is, I'm going to get there, but I'm going to explain it in the next screenshot. What happened is our rates dropped all the way down to 49%. All right, and I say all the way down to 49%. That's still basically a 50% success rate. The reason the only thing we can come to, the only reason we can come to as to why this happened is because now you have it's now mandatory that they do something for Early Start. So that probably affected the reduction in percentage. All right. So what has happened is EO 665 was passed, and there was an expectation that by 2007, along with EO 665, the first mandate, and along with other efforts like the early assessment program, which is embedded in the STAR exams in high school, and some other efforts, they were hoping to have remediation down below 10% by 2007. That at one point was the goal, right? Well, it's still statewide well into the 40s, all right? Depending on the campus, we're a little bit over 39% here at Chico State, but there are some campuses that are in the 60s, all right? So what the Early Start, it's called EO 1048, but this is the Early Start mandate right here. What it says is this, is that any student who's taken the Elm and has been deemed remedial, according to the Elm, they have to start the remediation in the summer prior to attending Chico State in the fall. All right? Now, the key thing here is this. It's called Early Start. How many of you actually participated in the Early Start, in the development? Did any of you? There's a couple, so you're aware of it, yeah. All right, okay. So, well, here's the deal. It's called the Early Start. It's not called Early Finish. All right? So it's kind of strange because here we are in these budgetary times, putting on this new mandate. The idea was to try to get the students to process the math and come to potentially finish in the summer, but to sharpen their skills before they get here so that we have a higher rate of success. All right? But with this program, with this executive order, there was a whole new layer of administration that had to be built. And some of you know what I'm talking about. It involved every major department on campus, and it also involved the entire system for all 23 campuses to be able to communicate back and forth with one another. We had to have the ability to take students from another campus, offer them a course, and then be able to upload scores so that they could actually see how the students did here. All right. So it was agreed that at minimum campuses had to offer 1-unit courses, all right, and preferably online. Some campuses, because we're a residential campus, not a commuter campus, we decided to go exclusively with online, and we did 1-unit courses. Some campuses offered 3-unit courses that were lecture-based and traditional. All right. So what we did is this: we took the lower 2 tiers. We made a course for that group. We called that ESPM 031. And then for our higher group, the intermediate algebra, we created a course called ESPM 051. Right. For the 31, I decided to go with a canned package by Pearson Publishers called My Foundations Lab. And there's a couple reasons for that. Mainly because of the second course, ESPM 051, we decided to build this in Blackboard Learn, and I knew that it would take a lot of time and energy to go through this process of building a course online. So fortunately, I had a very good project manager. All right, very good project manager. And so anyway, so what we did is this: we built the course in Blackboard Learn. And the curriculum that we used was from the workshop. It was the Elm problem book that the Chancellor's Office publishes. Right. So then what we have here is this, is the rationale behind going with Learn versus Publisher. Publishers charge a fee to the students, and we already knew that this new, the Early Start program was going to be a burden, particularly for the people who aren't as advantaged financially. So had in mind trying to save them money. Publisher materials are not easily tailored, right? They're not quite as flexible as Blackboard Learn. Right? Issues arise with students needing to purchase codes, password issues, incompatibility issues with browsers. And even though Learn has compatibility issues, if there is an issue with Learn, we have a help desk that can immediately help the students. Whereas if it happens with Pearson or McGraw-Hill, these students are sort of left to the mercy of those publishers and how they deal with it, their customer service. Whereas here, we knew how we could, we can deal with our students, all right, how to best handle it. We already had a desired curriculum, so Learn allowed us to bring that online. And Learn allowed us to build a course that suited our needs, that we didn't need a lot of the stuff that comes with the canned packages. And again, with Learn, there's no cost to the student. An advantage was using LMS allowed the students to become familiar with Blackboard Learn before they actually attended here in the fall. Right? And again, we have the help desk here available to the students. So that's why I ended up going with Learn over a publisher. Right. Now, here's how the staffing and timeline went. The project started January 2012 with a deadline of June 1st. Now, when I say the project started, I'm talking about the actual building of the course. This whole Early Start mandate started about 2 years ago, and there's been a lot of committee meetings in the meanwhile. Ann was the project manager and developed the timeline, workflow, and staffing, and developed the Blackboard Learn shell, and she can explain that if you need clarification. We hired a student from the math department who had a degree in math who is now going to grad school. He basically did all the data mining for us. He found videos, con videos. He added materials to the product. He tested the materials that we ultimately decided to put into the course. So anyway, we put in here in parentheses that this is critical to success, because it literally was. If anyone decides to build a course in Blackboard Learn and you need assistance, make sure that the assistant is within that major area. I coordinated the content with the student staff member, built the instructional videos with Camtasia, created introductory videos using an iPad, which was interesting, because basically we had to stand. We tried to find these cool little places on campus as sort of an introduction to Chico State. And so anyway, so Anne had her iPad, and you can literally use it as a video tool, right? And so, of course, how far are we from the train tracks? How far? I tell you, every time we tried to shoot a video, there had to be a train going through town. Anyway, so all these strange noises, and and in fact, in one time we were doing it, and the bell tower went off because of the time of day. It actually ended up being a nice accent. So, but anyway, so we were trying to go around various places on campus to introduce at the same time students to the campus, let them see, this is where you'll be attending. These are highlights of the campus. So I did that, and then I created the final exam and the survey that we ultimately used at the end of the course to see what the students thought of the course. And then between June 1st and June 18th, the course was copied and students were added to the live sections, and the session 1 began June 18th. All right, turn the page here. All right. So then, along with the course, having to build the course, there was a requirement by the Chancellor's Office that the course be created to accommodate disabled students through the curriculum rather than through other types of ex post accommodations. So we actually had to embed within the course accessibility. All right. What I mean by that is we closed captioned all the videos that were created, except for the introductory video. We didn't close caption the initial one, but all the educational videos were closed captioned. Right? And then of course that's for the hearing impaired and ESL. Right? Assistance for the blind. Vetted this through Jeremy, right? Where they were able to, of course, provide these tactile images for students who are can't see well, perhaps even blind, and Braille was available. Blackboard Learn has mobility restricted capabilities, right? And what that means, because this was brought to my attention, I didn't really understand what that meant. But for example, if someone's a quadriplegic, you've seen the videos where they have to have the little stick in their mouth and hit a keyboard. That's what Blackboard accommodates, is that ability. And then we include a glossary for the English as a second language. Right. And then this is what the page looked like, and I'm going to let Anne take over here for a second.
I'm just going to pop in very quickly. Essentially, this is what the course looked like. Well, actually, I should start here. On the start here part. Basically, we had a group of students who had never worked with an LMS for the most part. They also really had never been to Chico. So we had to provide a lot of support to the students in terms of the operation of the LMS as well as the operation of the math department here at Chico. So throughout this course, we had all sorts of videos. For example, this Start Here video is a Camtasia video that shows you how this Blackboard Learn course works. It shows the students where to click, how to operate, where they can find their assessments. So essentially it's like a tour of the interface. Yes?
What's LMS?
Learning Management System. Okay. You have so many acronyms here, right? Okay. So we provided this right here so students could, they didn't have to guess where to find their things. Then on the introduction, basically what we did is we had Ted do a little conversation with them where he welcomed them to the course and explained how the course would run and what they could expect in it. All throughout it, we have all sorts of help, and if you notice, we say like links will open in a new window. That's an easy accommodation you can add to a class to let people know that it's going to be in another window, so if they're using a screen reader, they know where to look for the stuff. Course materials were all contained within these units of study. We have lots of information at the beginning here. Also, again, we talked about something called Math Player because you need a plug-in in order to do mathematics online through an LMS or any other type of thing. We also have lots of links to get to ARC, which is our Accessibility Resource Center here on campus. So throughout, they were given information how they could get more help if they needed it. And then essentially what we had were the units of study here, which parallel the Elm exam that the students are given. And then as Ted said, we use the workbook that comes with the Elm in order to provide the problems. So I'll show you what one of the units look like. At the beginning of each one, we basically say what they're going to do. And it was the same for each one. So we had the fact that we had redundant information in each one of these sections. We had the introduction video. We had a contextualized image at the start. We were sure to give them the objectives so they knew what information they had to retrieve from this unit. We had our glossary terms right here, which were paralleled by a glossary that's contained in the LMS, which they could click here and actually see the definitions of the terms that are above. We had a practice quiz, which essentially pulled the questions from the practice test of the LMS workbook so they could go through. Here's Ted's step-by-step demonstration videos. So I might as well pop this one open. So as you can see, what we did is we had the topic and then play the video. The topic, play the video. And this especially was for people who need screen reader accommodation. So it just didn't say, play the video about proportion. It set the stage for it, and then the link. It was consistently placed below. In addition to the step-by-step videos, we also had Khan Academy videos, which some of the people were discussing when they came into the course. And then we correlated the Khan Academy videos to the objectives in this unit here. And that was one of the things that our student helped us with, because neither Ted nor I have that kind of time to pore over the Khan Academy videos and hunt for specific topics. And that was one of the reasons why Ted said, if you do hire an assistant to help you, especially in something like mathematics, they have to understand the material. We couldn't have taken somebody who was great at working in the LMS but knows nothing about mathematics to help us. And that was probably one of the smartest things that we did, was to make sure that the student that got hired had a good background. Okay, so that's what the units look like. Our final exam was here. It wasn't offered until the very end of the course. Course email was available because that was one of Ted's major means of communication with the students.
Actually, it was my only means.
Okay.
because this is an online course and I wanted them to rely on online tools to communicate. That was, yeah, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to make that point. Yeah.
There's lots of support materials, probably more support materials in this course than what we would do for an average course here on campus, because most of these students had barely even been here other than to take a tour with their parents. So we have lots of CSU Chico information. We had information about the Early Start program. We also linked it to a student orientation course where they could learn how to use Blackboard Learn. And then we also provided a link to the technical support so they knew who they could call if they needed some help. One of the things I did, because this course is going to have to roll out again this summer, is I embedded some of the instructor information in here as well. So for example, the YouTube account. If you click in there, you'll see the username, the password, what videos are up online, the files that go with it. So when this course gets passed on, we don't have to worry about relaying that kind of information to the next person. And the same way, all the backup here for the Camtasia documents are also here in the course. And if you don't know this about the LMS, if I turn off this edit, you'll notice that that portion of the menu goes away because that's only for the instructor. Would anybody like to ask any questions about the course?
So can you provide the context for this for me in terms of the first year experience program?
In terms of context, what do you mean?
So first year experience is pretty much a prevalent thing on my campus as well as here, right?
Right.
So the ELM is part of the first year experience, or is that part of just incoming assessment?
The ELM is the assessment tool that is basically the last chance of avoiding remediation.
Okay.
Meaning this, they've had an opportunity to do the ACT, SAT, AP, EAP. They've had all these opportunities prior to gaining exemption, right? So what this is the CSU systems your final attempt at getting past remediation, right?
So it's not a course they enroll into; it's something they're placed into
it's
specifically by the assessment.
Yes. Well, and they and what happens is this: is there's the range of scores. Based on that, they are force enrolled into the courses.
Okay.
Right. The Elm Workshop, prior to this summer, this mandate, the early start, students would elect to participate in the Elm Workshop. It was completely voluntary, which is why our success rates were so high, right? Because you have a group that's saying, hey, I want to do this. Now, this summer, we offered this course along with the Elm Workshop, right? And then, of course, we had the other course that was through My Foundations Lab, Pearson. Right? But they would do this course, and then this particular group who took this class, this ESPM 051, was invited to take the Elm along with the Elm Workshop attendees at the end of summer.
One other thing I want to add to this, which may not be apparent, is a student from any of the CSUs could take the course at any of the CSUs. So we had people who are not from Chico take this course, but they might have taken it because a friend of theirs was taking it and they were going to do it together. But we had a lot of students who were not from Chico participate in this. So the other thing we have are perhaps students that they never have seen an LMS, but also they probably aren't going to use Blackboard Learn.
Right.
They'll be using Moodle or something else at their campus. So we had to address a huge variety of people coming to this course because we didn't know who we were going to get, how many we were going to get, and so what we built had to be scalable and it had to be baseline for everybody across the state of California.
Right. So they didn't necessarily have to have a CSU Chico portal username to get.
And that was a part of the struggle, is getting all these people enrolled into the course in a timely manner. The other thing I will say is when I built this, I happened to talk to people from Blackboard, and it turns out this is very, very unusual, highly unusual that an online math course that would be fully accessible would be built. People don't usually attempt this because even though it looks kind of pretty, maybe, I'm biased, there's so much underneath the hood in this like you cannot believe. And so if you pick up a handout on the table as you leave, if you didn't get one, that explains some of the things that we had to go through in order to do this course. And I'll stop talking and I'll bring the slides back.
Some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ted, you had described early start as the student's last attempt at remediation, or how did you say that again?
No, the ELM is their last attempt to get out of remediation. Yeah. And then what happens is if they don't get a passing score, 50 to 80, then they take remedial courses. Taking those remedial courses, when they are done, when they get through intermediate algebra, that then is the equivalent of passing the Elm.
Right. And when you said that students are invited to retake the Elm after the 51 class,
Yes.
is it a strong invitation, highly encouraged, forced?
Yes, they were emailed. We didn't actually embed it in the course, but that's something we need to change. But we, in the communications, it was they were emailed and they were asked to complete a survey indicating whether or not they would want to take it. So, but I think there should have been a little bit more promotion up front, not embedded at the end of the course, basically.
Right. Do you know how many of the students took the ELM and was able to get out of remediation?
I do. For this particular course, we
have a slide coming up.
Yeah, we have a slide coming up, but we had, no, it's fine. We had 103 students who took this course. 10 of them elected to take the ELM here through Chico State, though, and accepted our invitation. But we don't know about the other 93. But anyway, of the 10, 8 of them got a passing grade, passing score. So, but again, you got to be really careful with these statistics because this is a self-selecting group of people who decided to do this, right? So, but you know, if we had one person pass, it's an achievement in my opinion.
And then I have one more question.
Yeah.
You said you used the workbook for the ELM to help design the course?
We used the ELM problem book, which is a study guide published by the Chancellor's Office that is available right now. It's in print form to the student. Well, it's digital, but they can download it. We just took that study guide, broke it into units, 7 units, and built the course around that. Yeah, so that's how it was. That's what we did. We just dissected it, you know, and brought it online. We had to. It was crazy, all the different things we had to do. We ended up having to upload the test with respondus.
Yeah, we had a lot of things going on, but basically this course is a thematically organized course based on what the Elm practice book provides from the, that comes out of the Chancellor's Office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So the just related to the course, the running of the course, that there were 3 2-week sessions. Each unit was 1 unit. The classes are credit, no credit. They ran Monday through Thursday, and each day a unit was released. The last Thursday of the session. So here was the basic thinking. This is summer. These people have lives, right? So the idea was this: we wanted to try to minimize the impact on the students as much as possible. And so the thinking was this: they had a 2-week session that would run Monday through Thursday, right? And then it was suggested that they study throughout the weekend, but we wanted to just have them work Monday through Thursday both weeks. The Thursday of the second week, the final Thursday, that's when they took the final exam and the survey. So the survey requested feedback on both the curriculum and the LMS functionality. The students were then, as I said, invited, and I had to learn. I tell you, I am not a tech junkie at all, right? And so I learned about SurveyMonkey. I didn't know it was such a great tool, but it's a great tool. So anyway, use SurveyMonkey to survey the students if they want to take the Elm. And then I would monitor the students' activity via email. And good job, or get it together, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly, crack the whip. Then the outcomes. Students indicated that they knew what was expected of them. Very few calls to the help desk regarding requesting assistance. Nearly all the calls were related to the other course, where they couldn't figure out how to pay for that course. They didn't even understand, because all this information was embedded in the LMS and Blackboard about even how to sign up for the Pearson course. So they were just lost on, where do I pay for this course? How do I, even though the information was there, they had a hard time with it.
So they had much more issues with the Pearson course than with the
Yeah, because if they were in our course, once they were in Blackboard, they were there.
Yeah.
Whereas with the other course, they were in Blackboard, but then they had to dig deeper and find, they had to actually read a syllabus and log on instructions and then go to this other site. And so it just became an issue. Students thought the course was helpful. Again, I only had 2 students that I actively emailed back and forth with regarding curriculum. And again, there were 103 students who spent 3,000 hours.
That's 8 days.
Yeah, in 8 days, right. So what was that, about 30 hours a student, right? Which for a 1-unit class, that's not bad. Should be doing 30 to 40 hours for a 1-unit class, right? Right? Because a 1-unit class is 15 hours. So it should be doing probably twice that. Right? The amount of time spent in the course, well, there it is. The average amount of time, sorry, I just forgot that was there. And then 8 of the 10 students who retook the Elm became eligible, GE eligible.
What happened to the other 2?
They didn't become GE eligible. They just didn't score high enough.
So what did they do at that point?
Then what happens is again, this is all part of the early start. So what happens is in the fall, they are put into their remedial math course.
That's what you
Yeah.
Ready for the quotes?
Yeah, and then we from the survey pulled off a few quotes, and so first was, this course is more sensible than most courses and an enjoyable time to take for my first college online class.
Excellent.
Nice. I thought this was a good quote. It's not really, it just reminds us that we're dealing with young people here. And so this course could have helped me more, but I really didn't put any effort into getting towards the end. So then when I took the math final exam, I ended up doing really badly. So I regretted not taking advantage of it while I was there. Overall, it was a great experience. But it's just that whole young people and just scattered and.
But still, the student learned something from the experience, which is a good thing to learn just before you start college, that I better get my act together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this whole notion of applying yourself. This course really helped me go over what I had learned before. It also made me realize I have a lot to go over to continue on. So it's nice that there's that recognition that, yep, I'm not where I need to be. And then the last one, I was kind of my own pat on the back. I really thought the instructor helped me understand the material more than the Khan Academy videos. Although their videos were good, I felt that I learned the material the actual instructor of the class taught much better. But to be fair, Khan Academy videos, have you seen them? They're wonderful, right? The kudos are coming from the fact that my videos were problem direct within the,
Rather than
right, it's the concept. So
you're going to take this nationally?
yeah,
The Cluver
this is, no, this was, wow. Ann and I spent so much time working on this. It was just
Ridiculous.
yeah, it was
But you know what, though?
ridiculous,
This
yeah.
is almost like a proof of concept, because I had never seen anybody put this extensive amount of mathematics fully online that everybody could get, regardless if they have an accommodation or they don't have an accommodation. And you have to realize the people that are coming to this are all remedial students. Their experience with mathematics, for the most part, probably has not been a wonderful experience. And the fact that we did have people who were satisfied customers leaving the experience, I think, was really good. The other thing to keep in mind is that this was only one part of Early Start here at Chico State. There was a whole nother component for Early Start English as well. So some of the students quite possibly could have taken Early Start Math and Early Start English at the same time. And because that was a writing intensive course, their exit survey was, I mean, they wrote wonderful paragraphs, but overwhelmingly the students were thankful for the experience of the online course before coming to Chico State and taking an actual course. A lot of them expressed the fact that they were fearful of what they were going to get when they came here, and a lot of them were like, okay, I got that out of the way now. I know what to expect. I know what it's going to be like at Chico. I know the level of work that's going to be required of me. So I think that was good for the students, in addition to learning the curriculum as well. Mm-hmm. And it was good for us. I mean, we started this project when we didn't know a whole lot about Blackboard Learn. This was probably only the third or fourth course I built completely. And when we made that accessibility component work, I mean, literally, Jeremy will tell you, we were in his office cheering because we weren't sure all the components were going to work or not. And I'm really proud of the work we've done here. Quite sizable.
Right. Yeah.
And we can continue to use this course forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions we're asked a lot is what format to put math, markup language in per se. What did you guys find is the best solution for that?
I'm not quite
sure. MathML versus using the built-in math equation editor.
We used both the equation editor and math, and actually Jeremy can talk about this probably more than I, but we had to almost do both. It depended upon what type of equation or problem set we had. Jeremy, you want to talk about that?
The math editor that's built in, it reads certain equations properly, and then other ones we noticed it was just like running, and it was just running through, like talking them out, and so we had to use MathML on that time.
Okay, so you did some manual edits to content that was provided.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And how accurate did you find the Pearson content that which you did use?
We did not do the accessibility on Pearson.
No, not accessibility, just the accuracy of the publisher content in general.
Their material is typically clean.
Okay.
It's just that it's not, tailorable, and it's not as flexible.
Yeah. There are errors in Pearson.
There are errors, but
not overwhelmingly or
I
anything.
haven't found a perfect text pack yet, so it's nice.
Yeah, I don't think it's, but it's fine. My hope would be to have us do this for the 31 for next summer, for the lower tier, right? The beginning algebra, because we have a curriculum for that's in paper form right now, and again, there were so many issues with the publisher. Just trying to get the students into it, that it would be great if we could have that course brought online also.
Yeah, there were only 48 calls to the help desk this summer about the early start courses, and that's English and mathematics. I'm proud to say we had 0 about this course right here. So that, I think, is a testimony to some of the practices that we employed in it. For the most part, they were about Pearson and just logistic questions. How do I log in? I don't understand that kind of thing.
But it seemed to me too that the Blackboard, LMS, and the curriculum, that was one issue. But I know that continuing ed dealt with a lot of issues, a lot of departments on campus. Students, because they didn't have my phone number, were calling everyone else on campus trying to, So. Again, I think it would be take a lot of pressure off the entire campus if we could get the other course online too.
One of the chronic problems with math programs online is not enough flexibility in recognizing the correct answer. There needs to be space on both sides of the plus sign or something like that. How did you work with that in developing your program?
Because they were not free response. It was multiple choice. Yeah.
Was that the case with Pearson as well?
Yes.
What I can tell you, though, it's coming down the pike, and the next service pack that we're doing to learn, actually Dave and I just sat in there and listened to it. It'll have a lot of the ability to put, I called them wildcards. So, for example, using the asterisks to say that it could have multiple extensions. So when we get that flexibility, something like free response for mathematics, that'll work perfectly.
I'm sorry. There were both free response and multiple choice with the Pearson.
Okay.
It was just multiple. Yeah. So there was both.
I suspect some of the calls might have been about that.
Yeah. There were some. Again, the majority of the issues were they just didn't know how to get logged on. They didn't understand where to. Even though the information was there, clear as day, I just think they saw words and just stopped. Yeah.
So the 31 wasn't online?
Yeah, it was.
So I'm confused the difference between the 31 and then what you did.
The only difference between 31 and 51 in a global sense is 31 is beginning algebra, 51 was intermediate algebra. They were both online, The 31, we used a publisher. We used publisher materials. They had a program from Pearson, whereas we developed this particular online course.
And a lot of this is front end. It's all building the stuff at the start, and then after that, it's you know, has the ability to be copied into multiple courses. So now that we've got this kind of thing up there, Ted can take any of these materials and copy them over into his other classes if he wants. And continue to use the examples, the Camtasia videos. We learned a lot by doing this.
Yeah, I see that our only hurdle, well, it's going to be my hurdle, not my hurdle, is that, and it was this year, was that when Alex, the student staff, had went through Khan Academy, found all these videos. Well, we went ahead and I went and checked them out and said, great, these are the ones I want to use, I don't want to use these. And then 2 weeks later, those links, some of those links no longer worked. And the issue was that Khan Academy was upgrading their format, or
yeah, they were shuffling their content around their site.
Yeah, and so
Define them again.
Well,
I might have to go. That's going to be my task this spring. Is I need to make sure all those videos are still correct.
But there's a
link checker
there's a link checker in the course.
Well, okay, great. I just want to make. Okay, I didn't know that. See, I'm learning this.
And Khan Academy, believe it or not, because it seems like it's like Khan Academy. I wrote them, and they were like, "Oops, sorry, they're here." And they, I mean, really wrote me back within a day or two because we were in a panic.
Yeah.
We had gotten all this work done, and then all of a sudden they moved our cheese. You know, it just, it didn't. I think we're just about out of time. Anybody have any final questions for us?
I have a quick question. If a
I'm sorry.
student needs the toasters, the raised graphic papers, is there a packet made up already?
Well, the way that we worked it was, and you saw the links throughout the course, if you needed accommodation, and we had it linked, they would go to Jeremy. We sent Jeremy a packet of every single image that's in this course anywhere. And then what we did is we gave the instructions for contacting Jeremy and having the packet mailed out to them. So they could take
We have kind of got lost in the shuffle, but I have all the files still, so I can recreate them.
So that way, like, for example, if a student wanted to take the final exam, they could still take it online, just like every other person, and then have the packet at home to see the images, you know, with their fingers, so to speak. Yeah, that was important to me because I believe everybody should be treated with equal, fairness, and give everybody a level playing field, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not always easy in math. If that's it, then
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.